Happy day all. This is Dr. M. Asha Banu, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Corporate Secretaryship. In today's session, I'm going to give you a brief presentation on the topic, an overview of GST in India. Before getting into the presentation, let's have a quick presentation plan. In this plan, we are going to discuss on the overview of GST, the structure of GST, the objectives, the scope, features, and furthermore, we will also be discussing the tax rate of GST, the benefits and the drawbacks of adoption of GST in India. Overview of GST. Goods and service tax, popularly known as GST, is an indirect tax which has been implemented in India, replacing all the existing taxes which had been cumbersome for the entire country. The goods and service tax was passed in the Parliament on 29th March 2017 and came into effect on 1st July 2017 for the entire nation. It is also known as One Tax, One Nation and One Market. Definition of GST. GST is a value-added tax levied on goods and services on the consumers. It is a destination-based consumption tax levied on all goods and services, starting right from the value addition throughout the entire life cycle of the product. Structure of GST. The structure of GST can be broadly classified into three. One, SGST. It is also known as State Goods and Service Tax, which is collected by the concerned state. Number two, CGST. This is levied and collected by the central government. Three, IGST. This is an integrated goods and service tax, which is levied and collected by the central government on every interstate supply of goods and services. Scope of GST. All goods and services are covered under the regime of GST except for alcoholic liquor consumption. Tobacco products can be levied with GST under the central excise duty. GST Council is yet to decide the incidence of levying taxes on the following products: crude petroleum, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas and aviation turbine. Now we'll move on to the objectives of GST. Number one, to eliminate the cascading effect of tax over tax. Number two, to improve the competitiveness of goods and services. Three, it also helps to ensure the availability of input credit. Number four, to eliminate the complexity of the input tax credit in the supply chain of businesses. Next is to have an unified tax law, which is also considered to be very important for the economic growth and development of the country, and also to reduce the unhealthy competition among the businesses as well as the state. Moving on to the features of GST. We have various features of GST which will enable us to have an in-depth look into the various concepts. Number one, single tax in the place of multiple taxes. Before the regime of GST, there used to be multiple taxes which proved to be very cumbersome both for the businesses as well as for the states. And now this has been replaced by GST. Single tax authority in the place of multiple tax authorities. Every businessman used to find it very difficult for answering to various authorities like central, state, municipality, etc. But after the advent of GST, this multiple authority complications have been replaced by single tax authority. Uniform tax rates across India. Every businessman used to find it difficult to follow various tax rates, and this used to differ even from states to state. Now this has been brought under an uniform tax rate structure which has made it very easy and proven to be also secured for the businessmen. Uniform compliance across India. Now GST has made it very easy for the business as well as the collecting authority. Since it's been made uniform, the process and the procedures have been made in compliances with the uniform structure that had been framed by the GST authority. Seamless input credit across the country. Now this paves way for the seamless collection and the receiving of input tax credit by every businessman who can also opt for the outstanding liability that he needs to put it. So this has made the work of the businessman even more and much better. Reduction in unorganized sectors and trade and commerce. Earlier, before the regime of GST, The unorganized sectors were finding it very difficult because they are not proven or they are not in the position to get themselves registered under GST. But after the advent of GST, even the unorganized sectors find them very easy to get themselves adopted with the easy and simple procedures of GST registration. No double taxation and cascading effects. So, before the advent of GST, every businessman and every individual was finding it very difficult to cope up themselves with the multiple taxes that was available. After the advent of GST, this is made very easy for them since only one tax for the entire nation. And finally, there is automation in the tax compliances. After the advent of GST, it has been made very easy for every businessman to adopt the procedures of GST and implement in his business the GST compliances, since there are many ERPs available for them to purchase as well as install in their businesses. Now, let's look into the various tax rates that are available for GST. There are 5 different categories of tax rates in GST. Number 1, nil-rated GST. Nil-rated GST are those goods and services where the rate of tax applicable is nil. For example, milk and honey. Number 2, 5% category. Now, there are many goods which will fall under this category like medicines, organic products, etc. Then comes 12% GST. Now, majority of the goods will fall under this category like your dairy products, processed foods, etc. 18% GST. Now, 18% GST is the general rate of service taxes which is available to all types of services which do not fall under either of the above category. And finally, we have 28% GST which is applicable to all luxury goods, gambling and also online gaming. Benefits of GST. Benefits of GST can be spread across benefits to the business and industry, benefits to the central and state government, and benefits for the consumers. So let's look into them one by one. Benefits for the business and industry. It is easy to comply and it is also uniformly collected because the tax rates are going to be uniform, and removal of the cascading effects. When it comes to the benefits for the central and the state government, it is simple and easy to administer. It has better controls over the leakage of funds, and there is also opportunity for higher efficiency of performance of all the businesses. Benefits for the consumers. Single and transparent tax, which is proportionate to the value of goods and services. And finally, there is relief in the overall burden of multiple taxes to the consumers. Drawbacks of GST. Though GST enjoys various benefits, it also suffers from certain drawbacks. They can be increased cost due to the software purchases. Many small businesses find it very difficult to install and use these GST softwares, which proves to be cost addition to their existing business. Number 2, being GST compliant. Small businesses find it very difficult to be GST compliant because they may not have adequate and sufficient knowledge on the various concepts of GST like filing of returns, registration of GST with the portal, etc. And finally, GST will also mean an increase in their operational cost because they will have to appoint GST experts which will add to their existing cost to their business. GST came in the middle of the financial year. Since this came into effect in the middle of the financial year, many business people found it very difficult to shuttle between the existing taxes and the application of GST. Thank you all.